It's Texas football talk
from those who wore the burnt orange.
Welcome to Longhorn Lowdown. Now here's Todd Hunt, Stevie Lee, and Stu Myrick. Man, it is good to hear that theme again. Welcome to Longhorn Lowdown, our first time together since the 2018 football season, I guess.
Yeah.
Stu Myrick here in the palatial world headquarters of Longhorn Lowdown, joined by the two best linemen I could ever find. He is first from my era, the Shock the Nation tour, the big man up front, Todd Hunt. What's up, Todd?
How you doing, buddy? Doing good. Good to see you.
And then bringing us forward a little ways to the turn of the century, he was part of those great Mac Brown teams. The man in the middle, Stevie Lee. What's up, Stevie?
What's happening? How you doing?
It's good to see you. And this is, I tell you what, if we're going to come back, we can't come back much bigger than this, because joining us on the virtual couch this week, he is the Vice President and Athletics Director for the University of Texas at Austin. Let me bring in the one and only Chris Conte. Chris, how are you, sir?
Good to be with you all. I want to know, Stevie, I mean, you're younger than Todd. You got a lot of gray hair. What's going on here, big fella?
Hey, man. You know what it is?
I think that's why Todd doesn't grow it out quite as much, or maybe he's using some of that Grecian formula or whatever that they use on your beards. So
Stevie's got three women in the house. That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is. It's my beautiful wife and my two daughters. They pull it all out of me, man. But I'm having a good time.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. I got the same thing going.
Absolutely. So, Chris, I know it has been an interesting few days for you, and but we're going to start off with getting to know you from kind of getting to know you from the beginning. You grew up in Taos, New Mexico, or outside of Taos, small town. Went to high school. You played several sports. Talk about that experience. I'm from small town East Texas. I'm from Gladewater, Texas. So it was one of those towns. Everybody showed up at the football stadium on Friday night. Talk about your experience as a kid, especially in high school, playing sports, and which sport attracted you the most?
Well, the reality is I grew up in the children's home, about 100 kids, about 25 miles out of town. So you had from all varying backgrounds that came to a children's home. Some people in older eras called it an orphanage, and I had a very privileged opportunity to grow up in that environment, and it was special to me. So I have a lot of brothers and sisters that I see on a daily basis. But sport to me really was not about the opportunity to play a sport. It was the opportunity to get popular. Sport plays such a social movement in our country. And if you think about what happened with Jesse Owens in the 36 Olympic Games, Jackie Robinson, Wilma Rudolph, Title IX, all the way to Colin Kaepernick or the 68 Olympic Games, society's always mirrored, sport has always been a reflection of what was going on in society. And for me, it came home personally, and we'd have in the late 70s, early 80s, you'd come from the ranch, you get dropped off at school, you're wearing hand-me-downs, you're not popular, they call you ranch kids, they knew where you were, and one of the kids went out for sport and got popular. He got someone from town called him, and I'm like, holy crap, whatever that dude, I want in. All joined athletics to become socially acceptable. We wanted someone to say, hey, you're cool. And you can be the smartest person in school, in high school, junior high, and they're cruel. But sports levels the playing field. No matter where you come from, if you can play, you can play. And that's why I got into sport. And I love athletics solely for the reason that we have people from all walks of life representing the burnt orange and white, and they get to change their paradigm because of athletics. So it hit home to me early. I was very fortunate to I was not like Stevie and Todd, a little slow, not big enough, but I got a track scholarship to Oregon State. My sophomore year, they dropped track and field because of Title IX. They were implementing Title IX at the time. They're dropping a bunch of sports. Finished up my career at UC Santa Barbara, and I'm sitting around, what am I going to do next? And I thought sport was such a great, important part of my life. And a house parent that used to be at the ranch became the team doctor at Washington State years later. And he called the AD, and they gave me a job in the maintenance department.
Wow.
And maintenance department, I chopped, painted fences, mowed the grass, chalked the fields for Stevie and Todd to play on, and did all those types of things just to be a part of that. And I just worked my way up to today that I get the great privilege to serve the Longhorn Nation. So sport was not because it was a necessity out of wanting to be accepted is why I got in.
It's amazing story. I read somewhere, and this kind of talks to your giving spirit. I read a story where your mother told your wife a story about apparently a friend of yours was being teased because, like you said, wearing the same clothes multiple days in a row. So you went home, packed a suitcase full of clothes, and gave it to him. Did I get that right?
Sure. I mean, I think that the thing about my parents were missionaries, and they were and they started out in Mexico. My mom and dad were product leaders of the '60s, and I was literally and figuratively born out of that environment. I think my dad earned $20,000 his whole life, and their whole job was, we want to do something for humanity. So they got kids from around the state, and they had so one household was 0 to 6, 6 to 13, 13 to 18, 25 each, and I moved with each one of those my age group. Wasn't living with my folks. It was all about us together. And you have no money. You're wards of the state, and you're just living in this environment with hippie communes around them. But that particular story, a guy's house was burned down, had nothing, and he went to school repeatedly with nothing. And I don't cognitively just came home one day and packed up all my clothes, put them in a box, and gave it to him. And then the next day, my mom goes, "Where are all your clothes?" And she had no idea what happened. I go, "Oh, I don't have them." I gave them to Marty. The guy's name was Marty. His house burned down, and he had nothing. And then he goes, "Well, what are you going to wear?" "I don't know. I'll borrow someone. I'll borrow Stevie's and Todd's." And we all just kind of way and went on about our business.
Yeah.
To be anything abnormal, but it's just the way it was. That was part of how you grow up.
Yeah, makes so perfect sense.
Hey, so how did you get to become an athletic, director? I mean, how did you get started in that part of the world?
Crazy. I was mowing the field, chalking the field. The GA was Kevin Sumlin, and another GA was James Franklin. Them two dudes rode me to death every day. And I'm like doing all the little chores, doing everything I possibly could, and just trying to get in. It's like an AD, the team doctor, you guys know, he doesn't have a lot of stroke. He just calls the AD, "Can you get him something to appease him?" They put me in the maintenance department. And I just worked there for 4 years, doing everything I can. They asked me, "Can you go deliver boxes?" I'm right on it. I stood up every day with a positive attitude, happy to be there. Did whatever was asked of me, and just kind of became indispensable. That all of a sudden, it's time for me to get a job. And 1994, there was a job at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo Division II school. Back then, it was a newspaper. I cut out the ad and it said, "Fundraiser, $18,000. I had $57,000 in student loan debt, and Sally Mae, the loan lady, was all over my rear end. So I went, took the ad to the AD and said, "I'd like to apply for this job." And it was for a fundraiser. They go, "You don't even know what you're doing." I go, "Don't worry about it. Once I get there, I'll figure it out." So I applied for the job. I got the job by a whim. Someone else backed out and they gave it to me. I went down to the fundraising department, took all the brochures that they gave me. And as I was leaving, I went to San Luis Obispo and started my career. And I was there for 4 years. I went back to Washington State for 18 months, went to Arizona. Started out as a major gift fundraiser. 2 years later, I became our CFO, which I did not take an accounting class in college, but I figured it out on the job. And then I got a job at Rice. And I went to Rice when they were trying to drop sports at Rice, and I interviewed for the job because I go, "You can't drop athletics." To me, athletics is what our culture is about. It's about opportunity. And they had tried to drop athletics in 2004-05 at Rice completely. And no one wanted that job. And I rose my hand and said, "I'll take it." And everyone in the country said, what are you doing taking that job? And I said, because it's about opportunity for young people. And they gave me the job. I was there 3 years, and then TCU called, and at the time at Rice, we were 0-8, and they were 8-0. And I go, well, I'd like to be there. They're winning. I recruited to go to TCU, and then I was there 10 years. Then this opportunity came to Texas, and President Fembus called me and said, we'd like to talk to you about the job. And that's how we ended up here.
So I guess let's talk a little bit about that. You're at TCU, I guess, where you minding your own business, doing your own thing there, and then how did you get this call, and did you feel like this was something that you wanted to do?
Well, you know what's interesting, Stevie? I like big, audacious goals, things that they've done. That's been my whole life. You can't do that. Why would you want to do that, right? And I remember when I was at Rice, they were in athletics. I'm going to do everything I can to put them on stable ground. They still have that. When I got to TCU, they asked me two questions: can you get us into a BCS conference, and can you build a new stadium? And I'm like, these guys are nuts. They got a big shiny car that they're trying to shoot. Why not? But I agreed to everything. Yeah, we'll do a stadium, no problem. I go, how? Because you're going to help me. If you want it to happen, I'm going to need your help. That was one. Two, can we get into a BCS conference? Well, that's big, audacious goals. This is before when we were in this is when we went to the Fiesta Bowl in 09. So I'm like, yeah, we can do that. Laid a path. We were in the Mountain West, but we went to the Big East for a hot moment, and we got lucky. Got to join the Big 12. We built a football stadium, a basketball arena, did all these things. And 10 years later, I got to know DeLoss real well, the Godfather, and he was always talking. And he got us in the Big 12, and opportunities came, and other schools were looking and recruiting me. I didn't want to go anywhere. And then President Fembus called and said, I'd like to talk to you about Texas. We met in a restaurant in New York City. He just handed a piece of paper, slid it across the desk, and said, I need you to come. Looked down, and then I said, when you guys were there, Todd and Stevie, Texas was the beacon. It is still the straw that stirs the drink. But we lost our luster. Could you put the BBs back in the box? Can we get Texas right? That's a challenge. I said, I want to try it. I want to ride Bevo for 8 seconds, see if I can do it.
We're talking.
I wanted that last. I didn't want to go home at night and be 7 years old and said, man, you should have done that. Now, other opportunities I've passed on, but this is one that, when Mama calls, you got to try it. And when Bevo called, I said, I wanted that for all the things that were surrounding Texas at the time. Can we combine both men and women into one athletic program? All the crap that happened this last decade, can you set Texas up for great success future-wise? It's a daunting task, but I wanted to see if I could be a part of it. One, I wanted to be a part of that, of a program that's as prestigious as Texas. I didn't get the chance to wear the colors, but if I can take on this challenge and be a part of this great team, I want to do it.
So, CD, when you came down to San Antonio one of the first 2 times, I was actually president of Texas here, and you were walking around in a nice suit and nice outfit, Texas colors, and you had these beautiful boots on. So I didn't talk about your style for a minute. You have a nice, crisp, clean, Texas style. So how did you come about doing that? I mean, you just looking perfect.
Well, I think one of the things you look at is what's the first thing you get judged on when you walk in the room?
Yeah.
How you look.
Yeah.
You have nothing, come from nothing. You will deal with that's the first thing they look at. And my daddy always used to say, we didn't have the nicest clothes, but we got to the bus stop. He inspected every one of us. He goes, you look nice. Because he knew you were going to be judged by other things, but your appearance is the first thing. So I have always been in making sure that when I represent the University of Texas, I'm walking out looking like I just came from a magazine.
Yeah, you do.
Spend my economic money. My wife says, what are you doing? Because I'm representing something bigger than me. Because the first impression they see is how you look. That's what society does, right? So all of a sudden, if you come from somewhere that never had anything and you're getting teased for everything, hand-me-downs, how you look. I mean, I remember one year I was a sophomore in high school and I was wearing a hand-me-down coat from someone from town, but I cleaned it. It was great. And the guy teased me all day. I felt this big at 10 o'clock in the morning, but I felt like King Kong at the end of the afternoon because it's my coat. I don't care if Stevie wore it, mine now. Right? I was proper. So to me, every time I just feel that gives you the opportunity that you're representing your family, your extended family, and the Longhorn Nation. So it's just the way it's ingrained in my mind.
Amazing. Who's the stylist? Do you pick out your own clothes, or do you have somebody that helps?
Oh, I got problems. No. I mean, I got a closet here. My wife doesn't know. I snuck them in here and I take them home.
Are we about to get a show and tell here?
Right.
Yep.
There you go.
I'm not right now.
Very nice. So now I know who to come to if I need style tips. I gotta talk to Chris if I need style tips, which that's very possible.
Well, Stevie, Stu, I don't think I could. You got no help right now, brother.
I appreciate that. We're talking with Chris Conte, the athletic director at the University of Texas. Let me ask you this: your years as an athletic director, whether at here or at TCU or Rice, what is the weirdest interaction you've had from a booster or an alumni or something, like the weirdest thing that has been asked of you because you're the athletic director?
There's so many. I can't even.
Give me a couple examples.
I Miss Elizabeth, who is the Loss's assistant, happens to be mine. She keeps track of all these things. So it is. I don't even. She said, "Do you remember this?" But I tell you what it is. It's just people's passion. We're running an enterprise, right? Everything we do is about student athletes first and foremost. You're talking about why we're playing today. We're playing because I went to Caden Stearns and Sam Mellinger and our team said, "You guys want to play?" Yeah. My job is to give them every opportunity to play in a safe environment. That's what college athletics is, their passion. School, they love the institution of Texas. They want to get a degree from here, but they're here because of sport. And they know they're going to get a great degree that's going to change the world, and that's their passion. So your job is to put it all together and give them everything possible, right? So when you think about, now that's the passion for them on the field, then you have people that are spending their discretionary income on us, and it's their passion. And let me tell you, the Longhorn Nation, they're passionate. I mean, the emails I get are crazy. I get fired at least 3 times a week, and I get hired by the same people the next week. So this is what I'm saying. You want to ride Bevo one? It's Bevo. It's not for the faint of heart. And that's what I love about it, because there's 500,000 living alumni that love the University of Texas. And that is, but with that love comes an ass chewing every once in a while.
Right?
I can imagine. You mentioned about playing, and it's a good segue with what's happened in the last few days with the Big 12 announcing that they are going to proceed with fall football and the schedule and everything. I want to ask you, you mentioned about talking to the players and their desires. Just reflect on what we have seen in the last 24 hours, what we've heard from Bob Bowlesby, the Big 12 commissioner, and how confident you are that this can happen.
Well, first and foremost, we have to define our why, and our why is our student athletes.
Yeah.
Foremost, their mental health, their want to play. That's our job, is to give them the opportunities to play athletics and what they love. So we defined our why. So that's our why is our student athletes. We had a call with we had 2 football players from each team on the call, and let's talk about what you want. So once we get their voice, we're the adults in the room, and all they ask is, can we be safe? Right.
So who are we playing first?
We're going to play UTEP September 12th, and the reason why we're going to play UTEP is I want that game to know to give us a gauge. Because don't only go conference only. I wanted to have a gauge to see how that game plays out, and then we have a bye the next week before we play Texas Tech. So having a game on the 12th give us an opportunity for everyone to manage what is taking place. You know, everyone's kind of like, what is it going to look like? I mean, I go to practice, and fellas, we look good. We don't have huge now. Now we don't have as big as T. Hunt and Stevie Lee right now, but we got some cats out there, right? So I like what we're doing. I like the energy. I like the new offense, the defense, the structure. And and it's exciting to see them flying around. Now we'll put on some pads this weekend, which anytime someone puts on a pad, I know Steve does this, because we're shaking the old neck. Happens, so it's pretty exciting to watch. But I wanted that first game that I wanted to buy, because I think we got to go through that first game, assess where we're at, and then we go back. And the reality is we're asking our kids too to school. Fellas, you guys all remember you were young enough when school started. It is everybody comes back here. So we need to get all the socialization out the window and then get right.
Yeah.
So we got to get wrong to get right.
Yeah. So you're not just the AD of football. How is it going to look for the young ladies on the volleyball court and on the soccer field and things like that? Are they have protocols and things like that going through?
Exact same protocols. We test 3 times. Anyone that plays at the University of Texas will be tested 3 times a week. Now we have high sports and low. Like in golf, you don't need to test 3 times a week because you're not next to it. You're just winging the ball, you in the grass. Tennis a little bit different, but with basketball, soccer, volleyball, where you have high contact and you're right next to each other, we'll have protocols for high contact sports, medium and low contact sports. Cross country, when you just go run 10 miles and back, no need for that. But you'll test once a week, twice a week. You'll test twice a week for them at minimum. 3 times in high contact sports, and then anyone that has gets positive will have the same protocol: EKG, echo, and a MRI. So we'll do those for those, and then we'll assess moving forward. But I think, sorry,
I was going to say, I think that we come out with all these different protocols. I think what we do as adults in society, that we got to say that this thing is fluid. Like things could change, And so if we need more testing, I'm sure the University of Texas, are we there for that?
Come on, Stevie. What are you talking about, right? One of the things I did here, let me tell you what I did. I went out and said, guys, it's about kids first.
Yeah.
We put testing here and quickly. We don't want to encumber the university and their testing. We don't want to encumber the city of Austin. So I cut a deal with someone. Can you give me guaranteed tests in 24 hours? I said, yes. They said, yes. How much is it going to cost me? He said, a little under $1 million. Done. I don't want to mess with that.
Good.
Makes sense.
University, 2,000 students. I don't want to be messing with the city. Let's go call a third party. We're going to make you our prime candidate. We're going to offer you this amount of money to make sure I can turn around tests in a timely fashion. 3 times a week in 24 hours. Yes, sir. Boom, done. Let's go. And then we made sure we have deals. Okay, we need an MRI machine. Well, we're busy this time. How about, are we busy between 9 p.m. and 3 o'clock in the morning? No, we'll take that time and go get our testing done. So we're going to work to make sure we don't encumber the city. We don't encumber the institution, but we take care of what we need to do to make sure our student athletes are taken care of. And our citizens are first and foremost. I understand that for the cities. So we have to find other avenues. And we found those avenues.
Man, Chris, that's refreshing to hear you say that, man. It just phenomenal. So you talked earlier about bringing the female sports and male sports together. What does that really mean for the future?
Well, what I'm saying is when T. Hunt, when you and Stevie Lee were here, we were separate athletic programs, remember?
Yep.
Programs to combined under one leadership. That's all it is. But when you're 50 years of being a women's athletic program and a men's athletic program, now you're in one. You're combining staff. You're combining leadership. You're combining one voice. It's just different, and that's an exciting time to be a part of. Chris Polonsky is my partner. She's awesome. But remember that there was a women's athletic director in charge of women's sports for 50 years. When they decided to combine them, they asked that was an opportunity they gave me to do that, and I could not do it without CP. She's been every step of the way. We're partners in everything we do, but what we're trying to do is combine resources. I'm sure when you guys here, remember when you had 2 separate departments and how they integrated? We're just integrating those together under one nation.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Talk about fans at the games, because we've heard everything from 50%, 25%, none. What are we looking at right now as we sit here, and we know the season is a month away? What are we looking at right now in the protocols to bring those fans in the stadium?
Well, first and foremost, I have a manual that I'm going to show you. This is my manual. You two fellas never read the book, but I had to. It's called War and Peace. Think how big this manual is? It's ridiculous, right? Big. It's a huge protocol to come back to bring fans in. Right now, the governor told us that we had 50% capacity. Our region chairman of the board said, "Hey, I want one for 25%." We're ready to, and then there's one for 0. But we're expecting, so we have one at 50, we have a 25, and we have one if they said no, you couldn't have no fans, how that would look like. I'm anticipating that we'll probably have 25% of the stadium full to start the season, and then we'll see how we work going through that way. It could be 50%, but right now we're a month out. And if the numbers in Austin keep on going like this, the opportunity keeps on going like this, right? So everyone needs to mask up, handle their business. Don't go bonkers the next 3 weeks and everyone comes back, and then we're going to have a different opportunity.
So what does that look for tailgaters? Because a couple of times last year you came to my tailgate, you and Arthur walking around. So what does that mean for tailgating people?
Hey, of course, you just want your cocktail and some fried chicken. What the hell are you talking about, T-Hunt? We need to – I'm not – there's right there drinking out of a tumbler. Of course, water. The idea is I'm going to wait. The tailgating right now, that's problematic, right? Because how do you do that? You all just congregate around each other. You can't go to a bar and hang out. So we got to address tailgating. We got to address congregating. We got to address everything that we do. This is going to be an abnormal football season. What we want to keep normal is, can we keep the players normal? The most important thing. Let's get something for them that we can move forward. And then we're going to have to ask your patience all the way around. So if you're used to tailgating over here, I'd probably look at, it's going to be a tailgate of 1, right? And then you're going to put 6 chairs apart and see what you can do, what you won't. Then you're going to cause me a problem, because then you bring all that COVID out there indoor. So we're going to try to limit everything that we do. Heat check when you come in, do all the things that we need to do. We're going to do e-ticket. We're going to do grab-and-go concessions. Everything is going to be no transaction of tickets or cash or anything, and try to make it that we can have a season. We're all going to have to participate knowing it's going to be a bumpy road. You know what I mean?
As for football players like Stevie and I, with T Association, you usually have a T Association thing going on. So what are the football players like us, coming in, congregating, so to speak, what does that look like for us?
It's going to be different.
Right.
But we won't, think through that. We won't all be packing yourself in the tea room, getting cocktailed up like Stevie is right now at 7 o'clock. I mean, hot dang, we're going to.
Oh, that's funny.
What I said earlier, T-Hunt, a party of 1, 6 feet apart, wave, no hugging, no dapping. You can't say Ken Steve, just kind of, hey, how you doing? You know what I mean?
I was going to say a lot of good tailgate parties happening in your living room. Just saying. That's
and from with all that standpoint, and I love my brothers, and I love going out to those games every week, and but we know what the climate is right now, so for the greater good, we can give that up some.
I see how you said some. You're going to all, okay? Some, okay, all. And do a little bit different this year for us to mitigate everything that we can.
Gotcha.
Amazing. Chris, before we let you go, I want to ask you, because you mentioned the lost odds and you mentioned some of your predecessors. What's the best piece of advice you've been given in your role as athletic director?
It's interesting, from the lost odds, put kids first.
Simple as that.
That's it.
From my dad is be honest, be humble, right? Serve others. And those, I live by those 3 things from my father. And from the lost, put kids first. Every time he calls me, how you doing? He put kids first. So every decision we make, you put kids first, and then you build around it. I have a reverse pyramid in my office. I'm at the bottom, and then we have staff, and then we have coaches, and we have student athletes. And we put student athletes and coaches first, their programs first. We build around that. So every decision, if it's not good for student athletes, it's not good for me.
Speaking of building, I want to throw this in there for you, Chris. What does it look like, as these kids, we graduate and we go to different worlds? are you guys summing up or making that more robust between the time they get to junior senior year and then reaching out to the companies, or what does it look like right now for the kids?
That's what I think is what we're glaring. I love the fact you asked that question, T. Hunt. We got our Forever Texas program. We're just revving up, and we have to rev that up. What we say here, what starts here changes the world. We have 500,000 living alumni, and do we take advantage of that? So now we're looking at Forever Texas program and saying, when you come here, here's how you can change your paradigm. Because both of y'all, I'm going to go to the pros. Every kid that comes to Texas, they're going to the NFL in football, every one of them. And they have that aha moment their junior year. Oh, my God, it may not happen. But they've never prepared anything for it but that moment. And there's that moment where they kind of go from high to maybe a little bit depressed because their whole goal is making the NFL. And our job is to be right there and say, we're the wind beneath your wings. Okay, we got you. NFL may not be, but you're going to get a great degree at the University of Texas. Now let's pivot and let's talk about what a Forever Texas program means. So we're about 6 months into the new program. We're reaching out to alumni. We're reaching out to corporations. We're reaching out to people around the country. We have about 15 lettermen that we met with today, ironically, at 1 o'clock. To come in and say, okay, let's figure out how we can work this connection. And we need to take full advantage of it. Here's a perfect example. We have a student athlete that here works for Goldman Sachs, was a recruiter, and didn't even come talk to one athlete at the University of Texas. I'm like, what happened? I didn't have an avenue. So we are spending every ounce of resource on that particular function, because I think if you can strengthen the Forever Texas program, guys, we are golden.
Well, I work at Dell 23 years, so you may want to have a conversation.
Hey, wow, you just want to drop that right now? And then call you next week and say, why don't you hire 3 people? I don't want you to go, excuse me, my phone's busy. I didn't get that much.
Hey, I'll one up you on that, Chris. I just had 4 internships this past summer: HR, ops, sales, and 2 of them have been offered jobs already.
Yeah, my phone. I lost my cell phone.
Oh, my good. That's fun.
That's the point. That's exactly the point. All right, fellas. You know what? I am down. Well, I'll wait till it dies. Anything else?
We're gonna let you go because we don't want your phone to completely die. We'll give you a chance to recharge. But Chris Del Conte, the Vice President, Athletic Director at the University of Texas, thank you so much for your time. I know it's been crazy few days, so for you to give us a few moments of your time means a lot. This is such a great conversation. All the best to you, everybody that is everybody that's in your realm. Hope you're safe. Hope you're well. Just be well, be safe. Looking forward to this season, and you'll hook them, man. Let's get ready for some football.
You guys,
Chris.
Appreciate y'all.
And man, what a conversation we had with Chris Del Conte. What a great return episode. I tell you what, that was awesome. That was amazing.
Good. Yeah, that was good. I really appreciate his honesty, really. And I got a more of a glimpse into his life, and to be honest with you, man, I felt like he's just one of us, and he's and I feel like he's really down for the kids,
Yeah,
and that's what you really have to do in that position. Is it really is about the student athlete.
I think he was a great successor to the person before, because he's a good guy. He's down to earth. His upcoming, I think it's a perfect fit for being at Texas, and his passion for being the AD he is. I think we're set for a nice few more years of having CDC as a head.
Yeah,
absolutely. Just such a great guy. Is so connected. Is not afraid to reach out on social media or anything. By the way, you can follow him at _Del Conte, and just an amazing individual. A lot of energy, like you said, and I think University of Texas is in good hands for many years to come, as long as he's at the helm. So that'll do it for this week's Longhorn Lowdown. Thanks so much for inviting us back into your ears, however you get this. It's great to be back together. We're going to do more episodes. In fact, our next episode We're going to have Doug English, one of the fantastic legends of Longhorn lore, will join us. But until then, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Longhorn Lowdown. You can follow me on Twitter at Stu Myrick. Follow Stevie. What's your Twitter handle?
Stevie Lee 65. I'm sorry. Twitter handle is Stevie J Lee. Instagram, Stevie Lee 65.
And Todd, you don't have Twitter, but you have Instagram at 94.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Yeah, 94 Hunt. There you go.
Hunt. So, folks, thanks so much. All the best. Be safe. Be well. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. All that good stuff. We will see you next time. But until then, hook 'em.
Hook 'em.
Welcome.
Say goodnight to this one.